Yo, what's up guys, Teacher Paul over here, and today we have a request by Captain Smooth. That's a nice name. If you want to request a video, click over here or go on to buy me a coffee. Link is in the description or the pinned comments. Okay, so Captain Smooth sent me a coffee request, and I guess it's a he. He says, "Hi, I enjoy your videos. Here's a video you could check out if you want to. It's about Norway and Scandinavian countries' actions helping Ukraine recently." Okay, it's going to be interesting. Let's check this out. The name itself is...
When Putin...
No, wait. I actually opened the wrong video, but let's check this out. Captain Smooth. So it's called "Norway Just Dealt Russia a Devastating Blow." So let's check this one out. Pull it. What channel is this from? The Military Show. Okay, let's check it out.
launched his invasion of Ukraine.
Oops, there we go.
When Putin launched his invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, his plan was clear: capture Kyiv in the first few days, before Ukraine or the world had a chance to react. But as history shows, Putin miscalculated. Kyiv didn't fall, Ukraine stood strong, and the world rallied. Among the nations that rose to Ukraine's defense, one unexpected hero emerged: Norway. A country known for its neutrality, suddenly thrust into a high-stakes confrontation with one of the most dangerous regimes in modern history. Despite its proximity to Russia and the shadow of potential retaliation, Norway took bold steps that stunned the world. From sending advanced anti-tank weapons that crippled Russian forces to delivering life-saving air defense systems, Norway's support wasn't just generous, it was brave. Its actions were not without risks, as Putin's gaze turned towards this small Scandinavian nation, now a formidable obstacle to his ambitions.
I think that would be the best, not the best, but what do I need, how do I put this? That would be Putin's biggest dream, to take over Norway. I'm pretty sure he has his eyes, so it is a risk for Norway. But as brave people that Norwegians are, they didn't look at that, and they went.
How did Norway, a nation more accustomed to peace than war, evolve into a decisive force that changed the dynamics of the battlefield? And what will this mean for the future of the conflict? Join us as we uncover how Norway, against all odds, became one of Putin's biggest problems and a true ally to Ukraine in its darkest hour.
Wow.
Unsurprisingly, our story starts on the first day of the invasion, when the world watched in stunned silence as Putin's forces surged into Ukraine. Norway, however, quickly broke this silence, issuing a press release on the very same day. Norway condemns Russia's military attack on Ukraine in the strongest possible terms. This attack is a serious violation of international law and will have dramatic consequences for the people of Ukraine, Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store's statement said. Store also immediately met with Ukrainian ambassador to Norway to discuss ways to help the Ukrainian people, instantly donating some $23 million in humanitarian aid, primarily to the United Nations Refugee Agency, the International Red Cross, and Red Crescent.
Ukraine's beautiful as well.
Fund. The rest of the press release made two things abundantly clear. Norway was ready for this scenario to unfold, and Norway was ready to step up to the plate, as the country's then Minister of Defense, Odd Roger Enoksen, put it. At first, stepping up to the plate only referred to sending non-lethal military equipment on February 27th. According to Enoksen, this was the equipment Ukraine requested, and Norway was able to donate quickly. Some of the items included in the donation were as follows: 5,000 helmets, 1,500 bulletproof vests, 1,000 gas masks, 2,000 sleeping bags, and 10,000 sleeping pads. The Norwegian government also increased the humanitarian aid for you.
If you pay close attention, Norway sent equipment for them to protect themselves. So Norway was thinking of the humanitarian side of things. They didn't send like weaponry. It was non-lethal. It was helmets and bags, and masks for them to protect themselves and have a better quality of life during the hard times.
Ukraine to a staggering $170 million aimed at helping the most vulnerable groups in Ukraine, including children. However, a mere day later, Norway decided that non-lethal military equipment and humanitarian aid simply weren't enough. Arms support was imperative.
Wow,
So the Norwegian
1 day
government
later.
decided to donate up to 2,000 M72 anti-tank weapons.
Wow.
Renowned among military forces
That's
for their
crazy.
portability and effectiveness, these weapons would provide Ukraine with crucial firepower against the advancing Russian armored vehicles.
Wow.
This decision also went against Norway's restrictive policy on exporting defense-related products, demonstrating just how far the nation was willing to go in support of Ukraine. In Sture's words, Ukraine is now in a desperate and extraordinary situation,
Goodness.
which is why Norway also allowed other countries to provide Norwegian-produced ammunition or weapons to Ukraine. In mid-March, Norway decided to go after Russia directly. The Norwegian government incorporated a wide-ranging package of sanctions against Russia in response to
the
its illegal attack on
sanctions.
Ukraine.
Guys, I honestly don't like war. I really wish that every country had peace, but I do like military videos, you know. But what I like about Norway is that they're mainly neutral and defensive. So, you know, it's really interesting that Norway decided to get involved instead of being neutral. But I think it was probably necessary. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. Should they have gotten involved or not?
The package, which Norwegian Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time, Anniken Huitfeldt, described as an expression of Norway's solidarity with the Ukrainian people, was also the biggest ever to be imposed by Norway against any country. The goal of these sanctions was to undermine Russia's capacity to fund its unlawful conflict with Ukraine.
Do you think
So
it
Norway
worked?
went all out. The country
Because the
prevented
UK did the
export of
same thing. I don't
technology,
think it
goods, and
worked.
services that could be used by Russia to bolster its military operations. The sanctions also targeted individuals in Russia and Belarus with ties to the Kremlin's war machine and the decision-making process for Ukraine, freezing their assets and barring their travel to Norway. Of course, there were also restrictions on Russian financial institutions, cutting them off from Norwegian markets. And even this was just the beginning. As Huitfeldt puts it, there will be more sanctions against Russia and Belarus to come, and they did come less than a week later. The new sanctions included the prohibiting of transactions with 12 Russian state-owned enterprises, imposing trade restrictions on iron and steel products, prohibiting exports of a range of luxury goods, banning new investments in the Russian energy sector, and expanding the list of sanctioned individuals to
That's a lot.
877 and businesses to 62. However, the exact content of the new sanctions package wasn't the most important part. What was more crucial was Norway's willingness to continue exerting pressure on Russia and Putin by taking decisive and escalating actions. It's precisely this approach that will allow Norway to deal Russia a crushing blow further down the road. But for now, we're still firmly planted in the more moderate actions that marked the early stages
it's
of
been
Norway's
so
strategic
long.
intervention in the war in Ukraine. On March 30th, the Norwegian government decided
been
to
more than a
allocate
year,
another
right?
$18.6 million to Ukraine, this time aiming to support the country's government administration. This money was to be used to pay salaries for Ukrainian healthcare personnel, teachers, and public sector employees, and take care of
Interesting.
pensions and social benefits. After all, how can Ukraine maintain its resilience and functionality amidst a war if its essential services and government functions are crippled?
Exactly,
Throughout
it makes a
April
lot
and
of
May
sense.
2022, Norway's efforts to help Ukraine resist Russia were mostly focused on financial aid. Norway even donated around $9 million to Moldova, as this
Wow.
rather poor European country had no choice but to receive over 400,000 refugees from Ukraine. The message to Russia was clear. Norway was resolute and unyielding in its stand against tyranny. This
Let me ask you one thing. I always thought the UK was the one who was doing more of the sanctions and donations, but it feels like Norway is doing as much or even more than the UK. Does anybody know about that?
stance also included taking care of wounded Ukrainian soldiers in Norway, a decision made by the government on June 1st. Around 550 soldiers were to be brought to Bergen Hospital Trust, Oslo University Hospital Trust, and Sunas Rehabilitation Hospital, facilities with unique expertise in the treatment of burns, trauma, and rehabilitation, praised by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. From June to September 2022, Norway kept piling sanctions against Russia and accumulating aid for Ukraine. On July 1st, it was decided the financial support for Ukraine would be raised to almost $1 billion over the next 2 years, with Sture once again reiterating that Norway would stand together with the Ukrainian people. On August 26th, the Norwegian government introduced new sanctions against Putin and his regime, further expanding and clarifying a series of measures. 3 days later, on August 29th, Norway pledged another $187 million to help procure natural gas for Ukraine in response to the energy crisis exacerbated by Russia's senseless war. However, throughout these months, Norway has also been sending military aid to Ukraine. Some of the most notable equipment sent to the country after the 2000 M72 anti-tank weapons in February include the following: 100 Mistral air defense systems. These man-portable infrared-guided missile systems are designed for short-range air defense, focusing on targeting and destroying low-flying aircraft, including helicopters and drones.
That looks like something from a movie, man.
Arsenal has provided a critical boost to its air defense capabilities, enabling it to better protect its airspace and counter aerial threats. 22 155mm M109A3GN howitzers with ammunition in May. The M109A3GN is a variant of the M109 self-propelled howitzer, originally acquired by Norway between...
How strong is Norway's army that they can like give out these things, like donate these things? These are like high artillery. That is crazy, because I think Norway has so much of a secret weapons and hidden power. Man, can you imagine if these are the things that they're donating? Imagine what they have for their protection.
1969 and 1971 from West Germany. These units were subsequently upgraded to the M109A3GN configuration during the late 1980s. The upgrade enhanced their capabilities with improved firepower, accuracy and reliability, reflecting Norway's commitment to maintaining a modern and effective artillery force. 850 Black Hornet nano-micro military UAVs in August. These tiny, highly portable drones are equipped with cameras and are used for reconnaissance and surveillance. Their small size and advanced technology allow them to provide real-time intelligence and enhanced situational awareness on the battlefield.
That's
giving
amazing.
Ukrainian forces a significant edge in monitoring enemy movements and gathering crucial information. 14 Iveco light multi-role vehicles in October. This tactical vehicle is designed for various roles, including troop transport, reconnaissance, and logistics support. Its versatility and off-road capability make it an essential asset for mobility and operational flexibility on the battlefield. 2 firing units for the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System, or NASAMS for short, in November. This distributed short to medium-range ground-based air defense system was jointly developed by the Norwegian defense supplier Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace and the U.S. defense contractor Raytheon. NASAMS is used to defend against unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, cruise missiles, fixed-wing aircraft, and helicopters firing a wide
I thought
range
it
of
had
missiles.
something to do with the king,
Military
but it's not.
equipment and weapons
Bungen is
deliveries
keen.
continued throughout 2023, as well as Norwegian efforts across all other crucial fronts. In the equipment department, Ukraine received the following notable additions: 8 Leopard 2A4 main battle tanks in March. The Leopard 2A4, originally developed by Germany, is renowned for its robust armor, advanced fire control
these are
systems,
quality
and powerful
stuff.
120mm smoothbore gun. These tanks are equipped with state-of-the-art targeting systems, making them highly effective against enemy forces
And it's
enhancing
camouflaged.
Ukraine's ability to conduct armored warfare. 2 Bergerpanzer II armored recovery vehicles and 3 NM189 Engineer Panzerwagen armored engineering vehicles in March 2023. The Bergerpanzer II is a crucial asset for battlefield recovery operations, allowing for the efficient recovery and repair of damaged and disabled vehicles under fire. As for the NM189 Ingenieur Panzerwagen, it provides essential support in mine clearing, fortification construction, and other engineering tasks. Together, these 2 vehicles significantly bolster Ukraine's logistical and operational capabilities, ensuring that essential repair and engineering functions can be performed safely and effectively in combat zones. Iris-T anti-aircraft missiles in August. The Iris air defense system, initially donated by Germany, was nothing short of a game-changer for Ukraine, which had been in desperate need of effective air defense capabilities since the beginning of the war. By supplying these advanced missiles, Norway significantly bolstered Ukraine's ability to intercept and neutralize incoming aerial threats. And given how fond the Russians have become of the so-called kamikaze drones, Norway's contribution provided a crucial shield against the barrage of aggression. 3. Arthur counter-battery radars in August. These sophisticated radars are designed to detect and track incoming artillery fire and provide crucial intelligence for counter-battery operations. Their deployment has enabled Ukraine to more effectively pinpoint enemy artillery positions and respond with precision, further strengthening its defensive capabilities and disrupting the enemy's firepower. 160 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles in August. Developed for anti-armor use and precision drone strikes, these missiles have allowed Ukraine to target and destroy high-value enemy assets, such as fortified positions, armored vehicles, and command centers, amplifying Ukraine's offensive capabilities and contributing to the ongoing resistance against Russian aggression. But then 2024 came, and the Russian aggression was heightened. With the $61 billion aid package from the US, Ukraine's #1 donor, stuck in limbo, Ukraine's remaining allies faced a critical
Okay, so the #1 donor isn't the UK or Norway, it's the US. Oh, I should have known.
juncture. Wait for the US and risk the erosion of gains made thus far, or act decisively to fill the void and sustain the fight against the relentless onslaught. Unsurprisingly, Norway chose the latter. On January 12th, it was reported that the Norwegian government made the decision to boost its national arms production by infusing $190 million into the country's defense industry. As you can probably guess, this decision primarily had to do with the war in Ukraine and the urgent need to demonstrate that Norway could continue providing substantial support amidst the escalating conflict. Prime Minister Stur's exact words were, "The war in Ukraine has created a situation where there is need for large quantities of ammunition. The government is therefore contributing with powerful measures so that the Norwegian defense industry can produce more." Of course, Norway wasn't looking out solely for Ukraine with this move. After all, the country's involvement and support for Ukraine has already left a bitter taste in Putin's mouth, a man known for his insatiable appetite for control and retaliation.
Yeah, so that's why I said
its arms production,
if he has his eye on Norway,
its own defenses and signaling a steadfast commitment to resisting Russian aggression. According to Prime Minister Stur, half this investment...
Guys, is Russia technically bordering Norway? It looks like that, right?
Will focus on projects at Nammo, a Norwegian aerospace and defense company specializing in ammunition. Since the invasion started, Nammo has been struggling to keep up, forcing the company to ask for government support in the fall of 2022. With the infusion of funds, Nammo can ramp up production, ensuring a steady supply of critical ammunition, both for Ukraine's defense and Norway's own security needs. As for the other half of the investment, it'll be allocated to various projects in Norway's defense industry, which are undisclosed for now. The lack of ammunition in Ukraine and beyond became very much apparent by March of 2024. According to the European Union, Ukraine only received 52% of the intended ammunition, primarily due to the lack of US support. As a result, Russia was out-shelling Ukraine 5-1, pushing the country's forces back on the battlefield. 5-1.
So yeah, you share borders, right? At the very
tip. The country's president, Petr Pavel, launched an initiative to gather the necessary ammunition for Ukraine by encouraging Western countries to buy the available stockpiles from countries in Africa and Asia. These countries might not be willing to send the ammo to Ukraine directly, but they're surely willing to sell it for a profit. Unsurprisingly, Norway joined the Czech initiative, allocating $153 million for hundreds of thousands of desperately needed artillery shells for Ukraine. As a result, and with the help of other European allies, the Czech Republic managed to gather 300,000 of the available 800,000
How does Norway have so much
By now it's obvious
money
why
to
Norway
give
became such a huge problem for Putin. The country has actively sought to identify all the possible avenues to undermine Russia's military efforts, systematically closing the gaps that could have allowed Putin to gain the upper hand. So when reports emerged that Ukraine was struggling to juggle and maintain all the different Western-made tanks it had received, it shouldn't be surprising that Norway was the one to offer a solution. In April, the Norwegian Ministry of Defense pledged up to $13.7 million for the support, repair, and maintenance of the Leopard 2A4 tanks in Poland, the very tanks it had also previously sent to Ukraine. Speaking of critical military aid, Norway continued providing just that, even after the long-awaited US aid package was finally approved by Congress. In May, the country announced a new joint package of military assistance worth around $190 million. The package in question primarily focused on the most urgently needed military capabilities, such as air defense, anti-drone systems, radar equipment, and naval capabilities. Once again, the package came with a few reassuring words from Norway's current Minister of Defense, Bjorn Arild Gram, who stated, "We stand with and support Ukraine as long as necessary." Thanks to Norway's unyielding support and commendable bravery given its proximity to Russia, the country was also able to deal Putin a devastating blow, one that has the potential to reshape the dynamics of the conflict. On May 30th, it was reported that Norway officially gave Ukraine the green light to use its weapons against Russian targets on Russian soil. If you're unsure why this is such a big deal, all you need to know is that Ukraine was previously only able to use Western-made weapons inside its territory, including the occupied regions. This severely limited the country's ability to strike at the heart of Russia's military operations and infrastructure, effectively keeping the fight contained within its borders. With Norway's approval, however, Ukraine can now take the fight directly to Russia, extending its reach beyond the front lines and disrupting critical military operations deep within Russian territory. Although Western countries were previously hesitant to allow Ukraine to do so out of fear, it became obvious that this was the only way to truly defeat Russia. Plus, Ukraine is absolutely within its rights to defend itself by any means necessary, especially against an aggressor that has shown no regard for international law or human life.
That's going to change the game, I guess.
Espen Barth Eide put it this way: "We also believe that Ukraine has an absolutely clear international right to attack Russia on its territory as part of its defense of its own territory." He further clarified that such actions are absolutely normal in war, and the world can't...
Isn't that what Putin said? That he invaded Ukraine in order to protect Russia? So that's what they're saying now. They are thinking of going into Russian territory as a part of a defense of its own territory. So that's kind of like using the same idea, right?
Expect Ukraine to fight with one hand behind its back. Eide didn't go into any further details in order to avoid revealing any strategically important information to the Russians. His exact words were, "When it concerns specific conditions and the conditions for specific weapon systems, we, like other countries, will be careful not to speak loudly about it. It's war, and there are many people who follow what we say publicly." Now, speaking of these other countries, the truth is that Norway wasn't the only one to give Ukraine this game-changing permission. So what makes Norway's decision so consequential? Well, Norway is one of the few Ukrainian allies who've pledged to deliver F-16 Fighting Falcon fighter jets to Ukraine.
Even jets.
And if you know anything about Ukraine, you know that Zelensky has been practically begging for these jets ever since the invasion started. With these supersonic multi-role fighter aircraft, Ukraine would finally be able to stand up to Russia in the skies and challenge its undisputed air dominance, which has cost the country greatly in these 2.5 years. Norway is expected to donate 6 F-16s by the end of 2024, after previously pledging to do so in 2023 on Ukraine's Independence Day, August 24th. As the 2024 Independence Day approaches, Ukraine has only received a few of the promised 60 F-16s from Belgium, Denmark and the Netherlands, but it's displayed them proudly nonetheless, sending a strong message of resilience and international support. Although Norway has yet to deliver its portion of the pledged F-16s, the country hasn't been sitting idly by. Since the fall of 2023, it's taken part in training the Ukrainian fighter pilots who are going to fly these jets once they arrive and become operational. And when this happens, Ukraine will fully be able to fly the F-16s into Russian territory, thanks to Norway's invaluable permission. This makes the F-16s
I don't know if that's a good thing, though.
Offensive Western-made arsenal that Ukraine will now be able to take advantage of. For now, most NATO countries are hesitant about green-lighting the use of long-range weapons, for fear of dragging the rest of Europe into the war. Other than that, all the weapons donated from countries like the Baltic states, Canada, the Czech Republic, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, Sweden, the UK and the US are now fair game for military purposes in Russian territory. However, even after successfully dealing Russia a massive blow, Norway hasn't stopped its relentless efforts to stop Putin and help Ukraine. In June of 2024, it once again focused on the issue of electricity in Ukraine, as the Russian summer offensive wreaked havoc on the country's already strained energy infrastructure. Since the Kharkiv Oblast was the main target of the summer offensive, Norway also focused a large chunk of its efforts on this region. The goal of this latest initiative is to help Ukraine repair the energy infrastructure in the region before the freezing winter hits. To achieve this goal, Norway has allocated a little over $100 million to the entire Ukraine, where over 50% of the power production capacity has been destroyed, with some...
In total, how much has Norway donated to Ukraine? Does anybody know the statistics? Because he's throwing in a lot of big numbers here, and I'm like, wow, where is that all coming from?
$11 million reserved for Kharkiv Oblast. The money came with another harsh statement by the Norwegian Prime Minister, this time calling out Russia for carrying out massive, systematic attacks to paralyze the power grid. However, in the same breath, Stor also praised the Ukrainians for working day and night to maintain essential electricity supplies for the population. Norway has also made it abundantly clear that it sees a future for Ukraine beyond the current conflict. That's why it also pledged to contribute almost $3 million to strengthening the Ukrainian business sector. According to IDA, by supporting private sector development, we are also supporting Ukraine's economy and resilience. With this move, Norway has once again stood out among Ukrainian allies, as many of them find it too risky to invest in Ukraine. But Norway has no doubt about it. Ukraine will prevail in the end, and it's investing in that certainty. However, to help Ukraine achieve a victory, Norway also continued sending military aid, this time focusing solely on the much-needed air defenses. On July 11th, the Norwegian government announced plans to donate $93 million to Ukraine to help the country protect its population from Russian bombs and missiles. The announcement came at the 2024 Washington summit commemorating...
There was a B up there. On top over here it says 93B, but down there it says million.
Russian bombs and missiles. The announcement came at the 2024 Washington summit commemorating the 75th anniversary of NATO. Stor also confirmed that Norway was planning to join Germany in sending a complete Iris-T air defense battery to Ukraine. Together with the US-made Patriot system, the Iris air defense system has been a cornerstone of Ukraine's efforts to create a robust shield against Russia's relentless aerial assaults.
Total allocation $2.8 billion.
It's clear that Norway is sparing no expense when it comes to helping Ukraine and stopping Putin. Here's a quick breakdown of the total amount of aid Norway has sent to Ukraine since the invasion started, according to the Ukrainian support tracker by the German think tank, the Kiel Institute. Between February 24, 2022 and June 30, 2024, Norway has donated $1.31 billion in military aid, $850 million in financial aid, $507 million in humanitarian aid. These figures mean that Norway has allocated 0.5% of its GDP to support Ukraine. Perhaps even more impressively, it managed to...
0.5. I thought it was a lot, but it's only 0.5% of Norway's GDP?
To do so without any European Union share.
0.5?
For comparison's sake, Germany has donated a little more to Ukraine in terms of total GDP percentage. However, a third of its contributions have come from EU funds, highlighting Norway's unique role in providing direct and substantial support without relying on broader European resources. As things currently stand, this support won't stop anytime soon, and we aren't just saying this based on Norway's impressive track record. In fact, Norway and Ukraine actually signed an agreement on security cooperation and long-term support, ensuring Norway will continue to help Ukraine and irritate Putin until at least 2027. But what does this agreement entail? For the most part, everything we've covered
I guess the video is more of it. Maybe a month.
Essentially, this agreement represents a comprehensive partnership between Norway and Ukraine, which covers the following key aspects. Number 1, strong condemnation of the Russian aggression. Sure, condemnation alone will get you nowhere, but it's important for the world to continuously denounce Russia's illegal and brutal war against Ukraine, which violates international law. It's also essential for all countries, including Norway, to affirm their commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and democratic values, and this is precisely what Putin wants to obliterate. Number 2, support for Ukraine's defense and reform. Norway has been providing for it for over 2 years, and it doesn't plan to stop. Donating military, financial, and humanitarian aid to Ukraine is among the country's top priorities, as the agreement made abundantly clear. In terms of concrete figures, Norway plans to spend around $7 billion by 2027, helping Ukraine fight the good fight. Of course, this fight includes more main battle tanks, artillery, air defense systems, and training for Ukrainian forces, which is precisely what is promised under the Agreement on Security Cooperation and Long-Term Support. Norway will also aid in integrating Ukrainian defense systems with NATO standards and support Ukraine's defense industry and cybersecurity. As for civilian and humanitarian support, the agreement allocates substantial aid for maintaining government functions, nuclear safety, infrastructure repair, energy security, and humanitarian demining. Norway will also support Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction efforts, including medical evacuations and countering disinformation. Number 3, political and legal accountability.
Ukraine needs to rebuild.
Norway doesn't plan on letting Russia off the hook. Together with Ukraine, the country is committed to achieving a just and sustainable peace and holding Russia accountable for damages and war crimes. These efforts include pursuing reparations and supporting international criminal investigations. Given how volatile the war in Ukraine is, the Agreement on Security Cooperation and Long-Term Support prioritizes one thing above all else: flexibility. Norway's support is designed to be flexible and adapt to Ukraine's evolving needs, ensuring effective assistance no matter what Putin throws at the country. Speaking of Putin, how do you think he perceives Norway's unrelenting help for Ukraine? Is he too busy to bother with this Scandinavian nation, or is he already drawing up his revenge plans? Remember, many experts believe that Putin isn't planning on stopping with just Ukraine. So share your thoughts on what Norway's involvement in the war means for the future of this country, as well as the future of the conflict itself. Now go and check out Sweden Had Enough of Russia, Get Out of Ukraine, or click this other video instead.
Sweden also. Oh man, that's amazing. That's the amount of donations. That is incredible. Somebody mentioned Sweden's numbers. 4.8 billion. That's 2 billion more than Norway. That is amazing. How does... honestly, I always ask myself, how do Scandinavian countries have so much money? That is absolutely incredible. And also, the United States, I think, is the biggest economy in the world, so that makes sense. But the United States is a huge country, and Norway, Sweden, they're quite small in comparison. That is absolutely incredible. Like I have nothing else to say about this. Like, the amount of solidarity, the amount of what is the right word for here? Compassion, humanitarianism. It's incredible what Norway is doing, and even Sweden also. There's another video about Sweden explaining how they're helping. That is a very interesting video and very mind-opening, you know, and mind-boggling as well. So thank you so much, Captain Smooth, for sending this video and showing me what Norway has been doing for Ukraine. And hopefully this war will end very, very soon, because it's been a long time. I think it's been more than a year, right? I don't remember when it started. Let me see if I can find. Or has it been 2 years? It started in 2022, right? It's been more than 2 years. That's crazy, man. 3 years. Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be 3 years in February. I thought it wouldn't last that long. You know, I thought the sanctions would work, and I thought, you know, Putin would just leave Ukraine alone because of the whole world being against it. But no, it's 3 years, and Ukraine has been standing up, so that is also very impressive. Anyways, thank you so much for this request. Thank you for showing me this video. If you have a request just like Captain Smooth, you can request a video right over here, or click this button right over here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and you can watch more videos with the playlist over here. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.